reading two statements after which we'll be taking questions. Cheers.
Thank you. The first statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party calls on all Guyanese to expose any type of discrepancies that may surface during the current claims and objections period in order to ensure that there is a clean, accurate, and credible voters list, the first ingredient for the holding of free and fair elections in Guyana. We call on all Guyanese to support the PPP's concerns with respect to discrepancies arising out of the registration process and the production of a preliminary list of electors. GECOM should be reminded that political parties were given copies of the preliminary voters list to scrutinize. Further, it is the prerogative of all political parties to monitor the current claims and objections exercise and to report its findings of malpractices to GECOM for their corrective action. It is GECOM's responsibilities to inform the public that political parties are in possession of these lists and are currently carrying out house-to-house work to check for discrepancies. This exercise of house-to-house checking of the lists by political parties is a right that parties have enjoyed over the years. Given a mandate by the electorate to represent almost half of the country's population, the People's Progressive Party intends to ensure that there is complete transparency during the registration process and at GECOM itself. The party had cause to write GECOM last Thursday, 14 August 2014, after our field operatives found 18 persons on the PLE with the same Georgetown address. At the said address, they found one of the 18 people with a prepared list of the 18 that were listed. The PPP finds this very unusual. While it may be possible that these 18 persons are living at that address, we call on GECOM to physically verify these persons' existence and their place of residence. The PPP has been submitting irregularities to GECOM on an ongoing basis rather than to wait until the claims and objections period concludes, since this period lasts for only 28 days and we are now 10 days before its conclusion. The PPP calls on GECOM to explain in clear terms the following. 1. The drastic increase in new registrants over 78,000 when the average annual increase of new registrants is usually just over 11,000. 2. What quality control mechanisms are used for inputting data from the National Register of Registrants onto the preliminary list of electors, and who is responsible for this? 3. Why weren't critical vacancies, including those yet to be filled, at the IT department not filled and was only acted upon after questions were raised by the PPP? 4. When will GECOM put in place an international monitoring unit and a joint international technical assistance, JITA, in place to overlook the inputting of critical and important data, the evaluation of such data, as well as to ensure that lists and other processes are above board? The PPP remains convinced that GECOM is better prepared for general elections and not local government elections, especially since GECOM's total lack of preparations for the holding of local government elections, especially since we find there's a total lack of preparations on the part of GCOM for the holding of local government elections under the new system. The PPP stands by its claims of list padding. GCOM must produce the evidence about impersonators posing as GCOM officials in Region 1. The PPP found it quite extraordinary that on the very day GCOM claimed that they were GCOM impersonators on the ground, soon after that, the APNU made the same allegation. This hasty and unfounded claim by GCOM about imposters on the ground at Region 1 was made in such a way that it put the lives of PPP activists at risk even before they went to check what was the truth on the ground. We reiterate our call for more diligent work to be done by GCOM in keeping with its standard operating procedures. In the meanwhile, the PPP will remain vigilant in its efforts to ensure that GCOM generates a clean and acceptable voters list. The next statement is as follows. The People's Progressive Party has noted with grave concern the sustained and calculated attacks by the opposition and two media houses, namely Starbuck News and Kaichou News, perpetrated on foreign investors, especially those of Chinese origin. The party is convinced that these targeted attacks are directed at the Chinese people in spite of their industrious predisposition, which is evident throughout the world. This industrious nature of the Chinese people has redounded beneficially to the economies of many nations, including ours, and has impacted positively on the lives of many. Our party wishes to remind the opposition and the Kaichou News that we live in a multi-ethnic society with our peoples cohabiting in harmony, sharing and celebrating each other's culture and traditions. This is evident throughout all of our national festivals, everyday way of life, and events that serve to bring our people together. The Chinese remain an integral part of our country's identity, sharing common bonds of indentureship with other ethnic groups. Their contributions to our nation since setting foot on these shores, like all others, have been immeasurable and invaluable. As we're all aware, the Chinese who have made this land their home are Guyanese first and foremost. Those Chinese who have demonstrated confidence and the will to contribute to the development of our country must be encouraged and must not be victims of hostile political and media propaganda bordering on xenophobia. Our party believes that an attack on any ethnic group is an attack on all Guyanese. We call for an immediate halt to such unwarranted attacks which run counter to the hospitable characteristic of our nation. And this can only serve to damage and disgrace our motto of one people, one nation, one destiny. Moreover, these attacks are in blatant contradiction to the call for investments. There must be no discrimination against Chinese investors. The opposition and the Kaichou News and Starbuck News have persistently accused the PPPC administration of not doing enough to encourage foreign investors, which, according to them, is badly needed to create jobs and bolster the economy. During the last election campaign, the opposition spared no effort to convince Guyanese that foreign investors would be welcome were they to be elected to office, and that the PPPC government has not done enough to make Guyana an investment hub. True to their nature and attempts at hoodwinking the nation, the opposition has not only endeavored to discourage and chase away foreign investors, they have whipped up a media frenzy and used the media as a conduit for such attacks. The Kaieteur News, being the most special one, apparently has willingly agreed to be the handmaiden of these attacks. Guyanese must remain cognizant of the numerous attempts by the opposition, pre and post the more fire, slow fire era, to destabilize this nation, stymie business enthusiasm, and bring harm to the economy. It must be recalled that every single protest they mounted in the city targeted the business community directly. Many businesses were burnt and destroyed, innocent Guyanese beaten and robbed whenever such protests took place. The intention was to bring Guyana to its knees so that companies and individuals contemplating opportunity for investment in Guyana would seek alternative destinations. The PBP wishes to remind the opposition, aided by sections of the media, that the opposition has made no meaningful contribution in working with government to implement projects funded by foreign and local investments. Guyanese must never forget the extent the opposition and the media cohorts went to discourage foreign investments in connection with the Amila Falls Hydro Project, the Specialty Hospital, the modernization of CGIA, and the Marriott Hotel. Such anti-investment actions, coupled with the unconscionable cuts to the country's annual budgets, are designed to harm the economy and deprive Guyanese of a more modern and a brighter future. The PBP is convinced that these anti-business and anti-development actions by the opposition are nothing but attempts to return this prosperous nation to a state of bankruptcy, a hallmark of their maladministration. As regards the Baishan issue, the opposition's and the Kaieteur News' constant attacks, the PBP stand guided by the pronouncements of the Guyana Forestry Commission, who recently reiterated that that company has not exceeded its harvest level and that their operations conform to guidelines based on international best practices and conservation extraction. In this context, we call on the Kaieteur News and the opposition to cease the unfounded and unwarranted attacks, which are aimed at mainly achieving political mileage, profitability, and circulation improvement. We call on them to work towards encouraging foreign investments to invest in our country so that all our people would benefit from the related economic prosperity. In this now global competitive environment, our country can afford nothing less but to have all hands on deck in an effort to create and secure a brighter future for all Guyanese. Our party remains committed to this cause and urge Guyanese to reject all attempts to disparage any ethnic group and to deter much needed foreign investments from our country. Thank you.
Yes. Now we'll be open for questioning. Questions? Yes.
Sandy Jackson from Chronicle. Last week after the press conference on the issue of the increase in with the ELE list, you said that you were sent a letter. The GCOM, has the letter been sent already?
Yes, the letter was sent.
Has there been any response from them?
No responses yet.
You also expressed some time back about the poor PR and the sensitizing of people. Since the concern was expressed, have there been any changes in the way GCOM GCOM's PR?
We haven't noticed any significant change. The routine work continues.
And of the statements, the president said that the government is open to talk on the no confidence motion. What does the party have to say about that?
I'm not aware of that. I didn't. I
It was
didn't.
during the press conference on Friday with the president. He said the government is not adverse to talks on the no confidence motion.
I see. Well, our executive will meet and discuss any matter of that time.
And is there any improvement with the AML bill? Any talks?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, that apparently appears to be dead in the water. I don't see that making any progress now. Pardon?
There was a request by the PSS chair, Gail Teixeira,
Mm-hmm.
to meet on October 10th, but the political parties, opposition, they're unavailable. So what does the party say about the unavailability of the
Well, as far as I'm aware, the government is preparing for the targeted review to take place, which was mandated by FATF. The preparations are ongoing for the targeted review to take place. But as far as the opposition and their views on the anti-money laundering bill and countering the financing of terrorism is concerned, I haven't discerned any significant shift from their position of intransigency. It remains the same.
Okay,
Jack
next.
Ross, News Update. Yes, can you say what's the state of the party's preparedness for general elections?
High state of preparedness. The state of preparedness,
Yes.
very high.
And what's the feedback that you're getting from your supporters on the ground?
Well, you know, when the party leadership says we're ready to go to elections, we don't only make, it's not only a declaration, it's also an indication that our supporters and members are also fired up, what you call about to be infected by elections fever. So that is the situation that we're in or about to approach in the not too distant future.
And we've seen a number of these bottom house meetings, as you call it, being held across the country. Is this part of the party campaigning strategy? The campaigning has started?
Elections or no elections, we are always holding bottom-house meetings because we always have something to say to the people, especially since we are a governing party. People will always have issues that they would like to discuss with us, you know, roads, garbage, drainage, all these different things. So we have to always be on the ground as a political party, explaining to people, taking the criticisms of the people, and finding the answers to their problems. So this is an ongoing exercise, whether we're in elections mode or out of elections mode. As I said last week, the PVP is not an electioneering party. We are on the ground all the time, listening to the people and responding to their needs as best as we can.
Okay, next.
Roy Hadley, HGB 90 News. Just a follow-up on Jack's question. The party is ready. Your supporters are they fired up and ready like the party?
Well, you know, this happens mainly when the date is announced. Right now, there's quiet, patient, consistent, hard work going on the ground. Ever since we lost the one seat majority in the parliament, we have re-examined ourselves, we have reassessed our work, and we have worked patiently yet consistently correct the mistakes that we made. I believe that we're at a level now where we are ready. We have corrected some of the mistakes we made. We're still correcting some of the issues that we should have addressed, and that is where we are.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all, ladies
you.
and gentlemen.